knew me. I never knew you.
Yeah, man, that still
it gets
goes
deep
on.
when you start looking at it. When you start looking at the harshest words Jesus ever spoke was to religious people. It wasn't to the sinner. It was to the religious people.
I mean, he spoke more eloquently and lovingly to Judas, knowing what Judas was going to do, than he did to some of the Pharisees. He didn't refer to him as being in a brood of vipers or anything like that. I mean, he didn't crack his whip at Judas. He ended up kissing him on the cheek and washed his feet. That's a tough example to live by, but it is the one.
Yeah.
So I went live. I went ahead and clicked it. We're 3 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that.
This is what we do. That's why I like having people come on a little bit so we can talk and get a rapport going. People will be coming on. Thanks again for doing this. Like I said, I just kind of met you on Facebook. You know, I like some posts, what you were talking about and sharing. Got it. I put it on my heart to, you know, reach out to you and ask if you wanted to do this without knowing me or anything. And, you know, I find that a lot of people that really, truly follow Christ are always willing and ready to share their testimonies because they know I feel it's something we're required to do. I mean, if you're living a different lifestyle, yeah, I mean, I say required a lot with this because it's a way for other people to get to wherever you are or where I'm at and just closer to Christ in general. You know, and you know, it's fruit, to be honest with you. Like, it's fruit of what God has done for me. I didn't rescue myself out of the pit. I didn't take myself out of harm's way, but he did all that. We're going to hear tonight from Jason Fusco, his incredible story. I've heard bits and pieces of it. We're really going to dive into some, if I could say, a little bit of some
anarchy,
dark background. There's some stuff back there. Like I would say he was involved in some stuff that was about as far opposite as being a follower of Christ as you could be. Spent some time in Hollywood.
You got that right.
Wrote three novels. Did that whole thing. Was living for and of and in and all about the world. Was searching for something and finally had to come back home. And now he's found. So I just wanted to welcome Jason to On the Spot tonight, brother. You're amongst family. I thank you for doing this. Anything you want to start off with, opening up? I always ask the guests, start us off in childhood, where you grew up, how your childhood was, all that stuff.
Well, we'll start from the beginning. It was a rainy night in Adrian, Michigan, very cold, and the nurse that helped deliver me was picking her nose, as far as my father told me. But no, I was born in, that's a true story, as a matter of fact. Now, I was born in Michigan, and I vaguely remember my first Christmas, I think. It was very dark. I was 1. I remember it being very dark in a Christmas tree. I remember that. And it was at Arthur and Dunn Sagers. I remember that too. But that's all I remember out of it. And I didn't celebrate another Christmas again until I was 18. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So that was a trip. So I was raised, I had my first beer. Well, when my mom carried me, she was using speed and drinking the whole time. So I really don't know what kind of condition I was in when I was born. Apparently my father had her committed when I was a year and a half old. She refused to feed me or something like that. I think that's right before they became Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not sure. Somewhere up there.
Man.
And so drinking was like, I remember my first beer was like in a Dixie cup. You know, everybody jokes that, oh yeah, beer in Dixie cups. Yeah, that's the real thing in the 70s, man, the early 70s. You know, I was there. My first taste of moonshine was at 7. You know, I was always drinking my mom's whiskey sours, or my dad and I would go cut wood and he'd give me beer when he was done. And
where'd you grow up, by the way?
Well, I was in Michigan until 9.
Okay.
So that last year in Michigan, he took me to the woods with a case of Goebel beer. Oh, wanted to see how much I could drink. And it was Saturday night. We had to go to the Kingdom Hall the next day. I wound up puking all over the tent, and he had to go clean it up. Mom wasn't happy with him. And we went to church, went to the Kingdom Hall the next day. I don't even like calling it church. We went to the Kingdom Hall the next day singing that song, I Like Beer. I think it was from Tom T. Hall or something like that.
Oh.
We were both hung over and just reeking, man. I'm like, I don't even know why he took me. But, that set the pace for it. My mom was very abusive. She used to beat the crap out of me all the time. And my dad, I think he spanked me once because I lied about cutting the garden hose in half, blamed it on my best friends. And I think he sidekicked me once when I was a teenager because I lied again. I blew a hole in the side of our trailer with a cannon. A 50 caliber cannon. I got tired of shooting slugs out of it, so I packed it up full of little nuts and screws, and boom! I'm like, uh-oh.
Science experiment.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was pretty mad.
Jeez.
But so my dad was never like physically abusive to me, and so that wasn't much of an issue. But him and I spent a lot of time together, until he became an elder in the congregation. And then all of a sudden it was read this, read that, read the other thing. I'm like, well, I don't need to read that. I want my dad. I want a dad around. So tables kind of turned, and I went on a rebellious streak, leaning towards the biker type. I surfed all the time. I was surfing all the time, but I was really infatuated with the biker lifestyle. I mean, as a kid, we rode to Florida. I rode on the gas tank, from Michigan to Florida and back. We were always riding. And so I had my first bike when I was like 14. And I was always just infatuated with the biker lifestyle,
Is that what the 1% is that you were referring to?
Oh, yeah, that led into it. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
That led into it when I was 19, yeah, down in the Florida Keys. We'll get to that one there in a minute.
Sure.
So I started dabbling in drugs in my teens and got introduced to heavy metal because my parents would never let me, my mom would say, Phil Collins is just too rocky to listen to. It was like, what? Here you are sucking down booze. And I was pretty bright as a kid. I could put two and two together. Like, I asked my parents one time, I'm like, how come we always have to wear suits and ties? Well, we have to look separate from the world. I'm like, but you don't like lawyers and politicians, and they wear suits and ties. I got in trouble for being a smart aleck. But was I telling the truth? Yeah.
That sounded like a fair comment to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, what's the difference? Qu'est-ce que différence, man? What is the difference there? You guys are in it. I didn't realize it at the time. Hindsight's always 2020. It's like these people are so driven on flesh. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
They hate flesh, but they live on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's man, you got false religion, and then you got that false religion, and I don't even know what that is.
Sometimes I think that can become an idol for some of those people that are really, really, really into it, maybe too much. They make denying their flesh an idol. So apart from the world, they end up blending in by default.
They switch their focus from having their faith in Christ to where their focus of faith is now on this faith in self instead of who it's supposed to have the faith in. So they're focused on, well, my faith this and my works this, and I tithe and I do this and I do that. And I preach the gospel because I tell people to repent. Oh, well, bravo. You right on. How many of you led to Christ, dude?
Well, they feel like they have to, so I think some people try to dress the part ahead of time, and there's no part to dress for. I mean, sure, you can dress respectable and all that, but it's about who he's making you to become, not who you think you have to be.
Yeah,
that's it for me. I mean, if I go to a certain place or whatever, okay, I can respect the attire, but just because I dress up on Sunday doesn't mean my life isn't a mess the other 6 days of the week. It's not going to do the trick for me. But I mean, to each their own.
Remember this part of the conversation for later when I get into the church I go to now. It's kind of important. It's not really dead important, but it's pretty cool.
Okay.
So where was I at? I was like, oh yeah, teenager. And so we lived in Titusville. I watched the space shuttle blow up. Literally, I watched it. I was walking to gym class, which, okay, whatever.
Wow. The Challenger in 85, I think.
Yeah, we had a courtyard. I was walking and I was watching it launch because I watch the launches all the time. I used to surf on that beach all the time. And I watched this. Well, that don't look right.
Oh, wow.
I think I was in 7th grade, something like that. But yeah, that's the area and time I was living in it, just to give you where I was at. built a lot of kingdom halls with my father, did electrical work and stuff. Leading a double life totally. So like when I would go out with my friends, we were, usually getting a bunch of beer, chasing skirts around, freaking. I started dabbling with weed and everything, but I love to be hyper, man. I just love to be hyper. So I was like constantly anything to give me that zing. I mean, I found out that I used to have an asthma inhaler, and I found out that if I took like 6 puffs instead of 3, it'd give me a heck of a buzz. So I was like constantly going through those things, huffing them.
Don't recommend that at home, everybody.
No. No, but I mean, this is how my addictive patterns started,
Sure, yeah. I mean, it definitely shows a seeking of like, how can I manipulate this?
I hated reality. That's why I got into music. I started playing guitar when I was like 16, and it was like kind of an escape for me. And then it also amped me up. So I liked the effect that it had on me. So I guess by about 17, I had dropped out of school in my freshman year. My mom pulled me out, and I went to school at home, and I spent my days. I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, open my books, lay my head down, go to sleep till I heard her thumping through the house. And then I would wake up and tell her I've been doing schoolwork for 4 hours, cheat on the tests and everything. And then I'd hit the beach all day, do what I wanted. And I was holding the job and all that noise. But her and I were at wit's end real bad. I mean, she pulled a knife on me one time, and told me, she goes, I got a notion to cut you open with this paring knife. I said, oh, yeah? So we had a fireplace, we had a double wide trailer. I walked over and I picked up the poker from the fireplace. You want to dance, Mom? We can dance. She dropped the knife and I dropped the poker. And about 2 minutes later, I put her out on the floor. I said, don't you ever touch me again. The days you hit me are over with. So I'm going to tell your father. I said, go ahead. I got one for him too.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, I had a 357 Python underneath my bed pillow. I think I was, no, that was before that. No, that happened when I was 14. I remember that. Later on, when she got abusive, that's when I had guns, because I was dealing drugs, and I had some weapons. So, sure. And that was, I finally got to the point where she grabbed all my school books and finished my school for me. I don't have a legit high school education. She just wanted me out of the house. So I decided to move up to Michigan. That didn't work out. Something about living in Florida, skating, surfing, and all that noise.
That's a big difference.
You go back to that conservative life, and you're all of a sudden, he's possessed, which they might have been. The thing that got them the worst, though, is that I was always looking for snakes. I used to take care of like 172 snakes in Titusville under a licensed herpetologist. So I had this fascination with reptiles. I had been catching them since I was a kid. And I took care of hot snakes, like baboon vipers, cobras, all that stuff. And they're like calling my parents, there's something wrong with him. He's got a fascination with snakes, and snakes is of the devil. You know that. She's like, no, they're not. Don't you remember? He was always catching snakes. Our kids used to catch snakes and bring them home all the time. What is your problem? They were just. So that back down to Florida, I went. And I wasn't 18 yet. I was almost 18. And that was when the Florida Keys came, and we lived on a sailboat down there. And they bought a bigger boat, and then they gave me the 30-foot boat. So I was living on a boat by myself. And then I turned 18. And I went and did everything I was allowed to do legally when I was 18, except boat, because I still don't believe in that. And yeah, it's a whole other subject.
Yeah.
And so I met my best friend, the one who eventually led me to Christ. This is where it starts getting interesting. Okay. I met him. He was working at a restaurant with me, and I'm like, I'd stayed out all night. I was skating, and I was hanging out with this dude at a gas station. Well, my dad met up with me in the morning. He worked at nights at the nuclear plant. And he goes, where were you last night? I'm like, number one, I'm 18 years old. I pay my own rent. I don't live with you. It's none of your business where I was. I said, but I was down at the gas station hanging out with Ricardo. He's going to get me on the volunteer fire department, which was true. He goes, what kind of drugs are you doing? Well, at that time, I hadn't done any for a few weeks. So I said, I'm not doing any drugs. I told the truth. I wasn't exactly lying. And he tried getting rough with me, and it didn't end up very well with him. So I was like, he told me to get my act together and get off his boat. I said, no problem. So I went and talked to Matthew. Matt's like, yeah, dude, you can come crash with me. So him and my mom showed up the boat, like, what are you doing? I said, I'm moving out. I'm out of here. So why? I said, you told me to straighten up and move out. I don't want to straighten up, so I'm going to move out. And so that's what I did.
They weren't even happy to hear that you were getting on with the fire department.
No, Jehovah's Witnesses don't like nothing about they strongly it's not against their rules to be a cop or a fireman, but they strongly suggest you don't, because it could put you in physical harm. And military is completely out of the question. Yeah, it's really whack.
I've always heard of them. I don't know too much about them. I mean, they're brothers and sisters. I've never went down that road, but I don't want to make it about that. But yeah, that's what I was hoping to get. Like, I want to go back to that, like some of your experiences growing up as Jehovah Witness. But
we can do that. So, like, we'll reverse for a little bit, just for a moment. I started public speaking when I was 5. So I would go up on stage and give a talk, whatever. I think 5 was the first time I did it. And so I was raised giving like 5-minute sermons all the time.
Huh.
And and the time I got baptized with them when I was 11, had to answer like 50 questions. So they know if you're knowledgeable enough in the Bible, or what their doctrine, I guess, or, whatever they teach. And I passed it, and got in trouble 6 months later, was in front of the elders already. But, there's a couple old ladies in there. They're like, oh, look, it's the little professor. And I'm like, shut up. I'm talking to my friends. You're embarrassing me. And, but yeah, I had to do the door-to-door witnessing. And I guess for a little while, I actually tried it when I was younger, but there's just a lot of the stuff, even as a kid, didn't set right with me. It just this feeling you get when things ain't right.
Yeah. Well, how does that make you feel though? Like, I mean, doing the public speaking and people listening and paying attention to you, because it seems like that sets you on a course to go try to get into movies and acting and all that stuff. Like, because you were
actually being in the passion kind of started that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened in Florida. My wife, my brother-in-law, and I were in the play The Passion. We took us like 4 months to get it ready. We were on for like 2 nights, and that was the first time I'd ever worn eyeliner. And and I was already playing heavy metal. We had a ministry band going on, and that got me going with acting. That's what actually really started it, was that Passion play. But yeah, you're right though. Being on stage, I've always liked it. It's never bothered.
It felt natural to you?
Yeah. Well, no, I would get nervous for a little while, but then I got comfortable with it. Everybody has that, I guess, is pre-show jitters or whatever, and you get nervous, or if you mess up, you feel like the entire world's watching you, and then you stammer, a little bit. So it took me a long time to figure out how to cover that over, but I always enjoyed it. I like the attention. Yeah, I always liked the attention.
I can relate to that somewhat. Like, the only quick story I'd want to share with that was we had to stand up and read these poems in English class in high school. 4 or 5 people didn't come that day because they didn't want to stand up and do that. I didn't mind at all, and my poem was called Nothing, and it was really on nothing. And I guess Mr. Benz, the English teacher, was like, "This is the greatest example of freelance," or I can't remember what he said, poetry. I just wrote stuff down to hurry up and get done, and had to read it. And I guess the way I presented it was like better than the content. I've always kind of liked that, like with karaoke and stuff. If there's 4 people in the bar, I'd be nervous and sound like crap. If it was packed full, I'd feel more comfortbe and more at ease. I don't know why that really is, but you'd think it'd be the opposite. Oh, there's only 3 people listening, so no, it'd be the opposite. But
It sucks. It sucks performing in front of only a handful of people. So it's like
that's how I feel. Yeah,
it's like, really, I got dressed for this.
yeah,
With the ministry, it's different because I don't feel that way.
Yep.
I guess the older I got, I noticed I used to like the big concerts, but I took my youngest daughter when she was 12 to see Black Label Society. That was her first concert. And I took her to go see it, and it was a small venue here in Billings. And I couldn't hold the people off anymore. The crowd was too much, and the bouncers got her out of the front gate. They were going to make her stand in back when Zach Wilde's own security came down and said, "Nah, that's that little girl's first show. She's sitting right here in front of Zach the whole night." And I'm sitting there with my phone. I'm like, "Take pictures." I'm getting crushed. And she's like, "Daddy," I'm like, I'm fine. Just go take the pictures."
Proud moment.
Yeah. I got Father of the Year award from a couple of people in the audience that night, but but that was like her first concert. And she was in her own band for a little while, lead singing. And now she don't want nothing to do with it. She's a school teacher now. So thank God, I don't know. I'd rather her do that than be in music.
Yeah.
But no, anyways, that did a lot for me. But the door-to-door witnessing was a pain. That was just, Lord, man,
Was there a lot of rejection? I mean, there couldn't have been so many people like, yeah, come on in.
Well, yeah, when they force you to go on Christmas Day to go knocking on people's doors to tell them they're wrong and that they're going to die in Armageddon and that's it, you're sending out a kid to go do this.
Yikes.
They're like, well, you have to be bold. If you're not bold, I'm like, yeah, you got to be nuts, dude. So
I can't agree with any of that. I don't know what their mindset is, the philosophy behind it, but I'm good. I mean, I don't know how stuff like that gets started. Like, it was just follow Christ, and then it's knocking on doors, bothering people on Christmas. How does that correlate? I don't understand the disconnect. Is it
same way the Mormons? The same way the Mormons did, man. It's like somebody has an idea, they're influential. They talk a big game. They get 1 or 2 people, then 3 to 4, and then it spreads like a disease.
Yeah, That's a topic I don't talk about much. But the LDS, with all the money that they have, almost $90 billion, and still asking people for tithing. Just I don't want to do that, Lord. I don't. But just.
Well, it's a cult, dude. I don't mind talking about it. I even tell people, sorry, you're in a cult. Plain and simple.
The thing is like I'll have to look up real documentaries, real people with real stories that's been involved in these things. Not just, I don't like that, and then say something. I got to have things to back up what I'm curious about.
Look up all the abuse cases that's been covered up by the Jehovah's Witnesses.
It's bad, man. It really is. And, in Christianity and Catholicism, they've all got their faults, man. Religion is a man-made thing. It's a commodity that's sold. But, I mean, the things that a lot of these churches, these mega churches have done, they're not leading any people to too many good places. Now, God he can come in. You can't make a weapon that's going to, defeat God. He can still move somebody in any church, at any place, at any time. But what I see a lot of these big churches doing, man, when Christ comes back, I wouldn't want to be the CEO of one. How about CEO? It's just it's a terrible business.
I got into a couple of them when I first got saved. I was listening to like Kenneth Copeland preach and all that, and I liked him for a few minutes, and then it just wasn't hitting me. John Hagee, I used to think he was funny because he was a jerk, and I've always gotten off on like dark humor, so it was like some of the things he said just cracked me up.
Yeah.
Like one of the things he said one time, he goes, you can teach a dolphin to play basketball. You can teach a 12-year-old child to take out the trash. If the 12-year-old child doesn't want to take out the trash, you pick up the Board of Education and start stroking his posterior and teach him how to take out the trash. And I'm like, because that's just hilarious. You
That's
know,
pretty good.
and I was like, the way he worded everything just cracked me up. So I was like, yeah, I was kind of attracted to that thing, but I was only like not even a year into it, you know?
Yeah.
So anyways, where was I at? I was like in my teens. So yeah, I met Matthew, and he was such a nice kid when I met him. Oh man, I think the worst thing he did was cuss. And, well,
Oh,
I
didn't
took him
come on.
down that road. I introduced him to partying.
Oh boy.
I introduced him to girls. I introduced him to partying, and we wound up. Well, I wound up moving out of his place when I was 19 and moved down to Island Murata. And I went into the Harley shop there, and I just asked for a job. And they're like, yeah, we'll give you $100 a week to clean up the shop, stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, dude. No problem. No problem. So I was doing that. And then I was hanging out with the wrenches out back. And we had some really nice guys that were back there, but they got fired for this, that, and the other. And then Gypsy came in. And Gypsy and 8 others of this particular group in Florida were all wanted by the feds and wanted by the law for murder and all kind of stuff that had happened. Now, this is before their president went down. This is in 91.
What's Gypsy, a club?
No, Gypsy was his name.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And he kind of looked a lot like you, as a matter of fact. Yeah. He was about 6.5 foot tall, tattooed, sleeved, long hair.
Definitely not me.
And yeah, I was just fascinated with him, you know. So we started drinking at work all the time, and I started riding with him. And so he was talking about getting me patched in, and this had been going on for a while, you know. He knew I was running drugs, and we'd go out and go to the Caribbean Club in Key Largo and close the place down, you know. Just raising hell everywhere. But it was like when they had to throw the patch on, I wasn't allowed to go, because I was like, they're throwing the patch on. You know, it was bad business, because they didn't wear their patch on purpose, because they were looked for it. So it was the Outlaws. That's who it was. That's who I was riding with.
Okay.
That was before Taco Bowman went up.
Heard of that name too.
Yeah. So
so you didn't get patched in?
No, they wanted me to do some. It was going to be pretty easy for me to get patched in. They wanted me to go to Illinois and probate, and I'm like, no, I can't move, whatever. And he's like, well, you're not going to have to probate long, Junior. He goes, I promise you that. This is all you got to do. And I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, there's innocent people involved with this, man. You know, I was like, I don't care about the idiot. I'll blow him away. I don't care about that. But I'm not messing with innocent people. So, you know, I don't want to say too much.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's just say it was really, really bad. And the girl I was with at the time, she's like, you do this. You go up there and you start riding with him, like for real riding with him. Because I was riding with him all the time. But riding with him, she goes, we're done. And I'm like, well, that was enough for me. And that was it. And
I thought it might have just been he didn't want to come to Illinois. I mean, it's such a fantastic state.
I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go up. Oh, I didn't want to go up there. I wanted to stay where I was. But I would have done it. But
you think that might have saved you a bunch of extra hell?
A lifetime in prison? Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Hard-hitting journalism. I had to get
because I would have done just about anything for that patch, but he personally asked me to take care of some stuff and was going to ensure that so I don't know, I don't think that I would have ever gotten the patch, to be honest with you. I think that I would have been used and left out to dry, because that dude wound up stealing my bike. He wound up stealing a lot of stuff, man. I come to find out he lied about a lot of stuff. So it's just like, I don't know. The other guys I rode with, they were cool. They were straight. And, years later, when I thought about it, I could see how they were trying to watch my back when I was around, you know, trying to hint to me, nah, Junior's too young for that noise, and just kind of giving them looks like, what are you doing, man? This is a good kid. Leave him alone. You know what I mean?
It sounds like it sounds to me like possibly you might have been set up to be a fall guy, and some other guys were like, we don't want that to happen. They probably knew that their run was coming to an end anyway.
Well, Gypsy's dead now. He died.
I mean,
last I heard, he went up for the last. Well, there's a ton of gypsies and motorcycle clubs. Everybody's named Gypsy, dude. I've probably run across 12 gypsies in my life.
Yeah,
it's a pretty popular name, but I guess he got shot to death, but he went up for like meth distribution and then credit card fraud. So I know he wound up having to go to Chino, Cali for a while, and then he got out of there and got into a scuff with somebody and wound up getting shot to death. So. But that was it. That was the end of my 1%er days. I don't remember exactly how it ended. It kind of gradually ended. And then I moved in with my mom. And then I started dealing cocaine and getting more in. And I was running. Matthew had moved away to Central Florida, my best friend. He had moved away to Central Florida, and I stayed in the Keys. So I was dealing pounds out of my house, dealing coke out of my house, running up to Miami for this Cuban dude, and I was the driver, and we were driving pounds and pounds back. And I just got into dealing and stuff. And so something happened. I don't remember what. It's like a big blood. I mean, I was on a lot of LSD back then. I mean, I was eating. I fell in love with that. Cocaine, I dropped like a dirty shirt. I did cocaine heavily for like 2 years, and I'm done with it. I didn't even like it. I didn't even like the high of it. I just enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed the rush of dealing with it. I like being the guy everybody goes to get it. You know, it was fun.
It's a different kind of addiction. I mean,
yeah, dealing's definitely an addiction. So I don't remember, but LSD was something, because I was always searching for something. I didn't do it to get messed up. I was always on some kind of an outer world trip trying to figure things out. And it was probably a few months before I met my wife was the last time I tripped. And I was in my late 20s. So that was the last time I tripped. And I had started tripping 10, 15 years before that.
I mean, would you say any of those trips, though, like brought you to anywhere near where you're at today? I mean, I don't know if I know there's a whole group of people, culture that believes in ayahuasca and microdosing and all this stuff, man. But I can't really believe in that now. I mean, if somebody can microdose and get off of heroin or fentanyl, I found
everything that I had been looking for, because I didn't know what I was looking for, but I found it in Christ. And even though I found it decades ago, I found it last year.
Yeah.
Last year's when it became real. So.
You got a clean day, by the way, or do you?
25th of January of last year.
Okay.
It's 25th on every month is when that's usually when I'll write. I used to write every day, but come to find out, when I was writing, I was rereading a lot of stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, dude, you're preaching religion. You're preaching old school religion. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm done writing. Not till I know. I got to get into the words some more. I got to learn some more stuff before I even start preaching again. Because I used to do it a long time ago. But we'll get to that in a minute.
I'll get that.
So where was I at? Oh, yeah. Something brought me out of the Keys, and I moved to Central Florida with Matthew. And at one point in time in Port St. Lucie, him and I supplied the best weed of the entire place. We were going down to the Florida Keys and bringing up pounds. And like everybody knew, if you wanted good weed, you're going to us, because we didn't deal in cack. I mean, you take that dirt weed and go somewhere else with it, man. We're getting the best of what we can get, and that's it. And we've been at it for a few years, and we built up connections and all that. So one thing led to another, And I wound up back in the Florida Keys again, and he stayed up there. This is kind of a blur.
You're avoiding any kind of like trouble with the law through all this too?
Oh, no, they were always after me.
Okay.
I went on a crack binge one time with my 2 karate instructors down in the Keys, and we broke into almost every place in Key Largo, and they could never pin it on us.
Wow.
So one of them is in prison again. The other one's clean, sober. He's got his own lawn business in Orlando. I talked to him like quite a bit. He's like, man, you got to talk to my brother, man. I was like, Daryl ain't going to listen to me, dude. Daryl is possessed. I said, you can look in his eyes, dude. He goes, that's what my old lady said. I said, look in his eyes, Aaron. There's something dark and evil inside him, man. I said, Jesus can touch it, but he ain't going to listen to me. All he's going to do is he's going to try and play me. That's all he's going to try and do, dude. I've already got his number. He goes, yeah, that's for real. He's going to do that. So it's like, whatever. But law was always after me. So I don't remember exactly the chain of events that happened after I moved back to the Keys again. I don't know. It's a blur.
Huh.
Oh, so I wound up in Fort Myers. That's what it was. And I met this dude. And I moved up there to join this band. And that was a mess. That's when I got into I'd already been dabbling in witchcraft, okay? And just like dabbling, didn't know nothing about it. Well, he was part of a coven. And then I got into the Goetia, the 72 Seals of Solomon.
Oof.
Summoning demons in Black Mirror. Full dress rituals involving a whole lot of stuff. And oh yeah, dude.
Well, I mean, that isn't scary at all. Like you just went.
No, I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Fair enough.
I was at that point now in my life to where the more evil, the better. My lyrics were completely anti-God. My lyrics were completely antichrist. And the worse, the better. I got in heavy with Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel and Deicide. And I had not gotten introduced to black metal back then. I kind of didn't like it because I didn't like their whole gimmick. But if I'd have read their lyrics and stuff, and like I got into European metal later on in life, like Children of Bodom and things like that, I started like, wow, they really have a better sound of music than American metal does, because American metal's like in your face right here. But European metal, they got all these keyboards and they add to it, man. And it's just a fuller sound. But I didn't get into that then. And I'm kind of glad, because I'd have probably been right there with them burning churches down.
Ugh.
That actually happened in Norway. That was the band, the first black metal band out there that made it big.
Well, I've heard of Gorgia. They're from Sweden, though.
This is before them.
Okay.
This is before them. In the 80s, there was churches being burned down, and it was actually the dude that was doing it, Varg. This was in Norway. I can't remember. Their lead singer's name was Death, and he blew his face off with a shotgun. He was so sadistic, he would put dead animals in bags before a show and huff it. He would bury his clothes in the ground for days so they would start rotting and nasty, and then he would wear that on stage. He would lacerate himself on stage so bad that he almost bled to death. And he was stuck. But the lead singer, half of the band wanted to do what they were preaching. He was in it just to do it. He got stabbed to death for it. So Varg killed him with a knife, stabbed him to death, and Varg just got out of prison not long ago for it.
Good Lord, they're really.
It's an interesting story, yeah. But
they're really
I'm kind of glad I didn't get into the black metal stuff.
I'm never going to Norway or Sweden for a vacation. My goodness, that's just derangement. That's not artistic. Yeah. That's not creative.
No,
that's somebody that needed some help. You're not saying. Anyway, but
yeah, it's pretty deep stuff, you know. And so I wound up meeting a friend of mine, Tommy Kimbrough. He had a band called Judica. He wound up playing at my birthday party. It was a death metal band, and he introduced me to Cannibal Corpse, like personally introduced me to them. They opened up for him one night, so I got to meet George Fisher and the rest of them. And they were just a great bunch of guys. You know, they were nice. They're just totally cool. You know, I mean, it's like George Fisher sings the grossest stuff, and I don't listen to their music anymore, even though they do have like the best death metal sound ever in the world. He'll sit there and go play the crab claw games, you know, the claw games. He'll have an arm full of toys, then he'll go donate it all to children.
See?
Yeah, see, so it's like it's a show for him.
Like you're right.
Yeah. And Morbid Angel, so they had lost their singer Vincent, and I met him in Ybor City. Met them in Ybor City, and the new singer was there. I'm like, and I met their guitarist Trey Azagthoth, and he's big into the Necronomicon, and he's into spells, and he's into magic and everything. And he was a super nice guy and everything. Signed a package of strings for me and all that. And I met their lead singer. He goes, "Yeah, man, I just thank God for the chance of doing this." And I'm like, "Well, that's an odd thing for you to say." He wound up leaving not long after that for religious differences. So, and I'm like, oh, wow, you know, but at the time, so I was getting deeper and deeper into this black magic and stuff, right?
My
life was a mess.
Rituals and everything?
Oh,
like
yeah.
I got to hear about one of these, if you would.
Well,
if you can.
Yeah, I can, if I can remember all of it. So we all have, like, you take the salt bath first to consecrate yourself, to cleanse you and everything. And we all have like our own implements, like a fire wand, an air dagger. We had one black mirror. And so when you start this ritual, you do like the LBRP, the lower banishing ritual, the pentagram, and that like protects a circle around you, supposedly, okay? Wow. And you're in this giant pentacle of salt. And so then you have to recite these incantations out of the Goetia, and it's all in the Enochian language. And it's like the unspoken, it's like the language of like the demons, the language of the angels. It's unspoken to man. Man can speak it, but nobody really does unless you're doing that. It's all in the Goetia, dude. It's crazy. This book is so powerful that I received it. Okay, this is how evil this book is. When I received the copy of it, the edges, you could tell when it was printed, it was burnt. Scott's book was in a trailer that burned down, and that book didn't burn.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I saw the picture, a photograph of him walking out with the book smoldering and his guitar. The book didn't burn. I was like, wow. So it was some pretty heavy stuff we were dealing with, man.
How long did that go on? That type of stuff?
Well, I had a falling out with them over, you know, I've cast a lot of spells on people when I was doing it because I was never book learned about any of it. I didn't study. And my spells worked very well. But I didn't do proper things with them, and I wound up paying for them too. But my mom, she met the Scott's wife, and she could make fire dance. And my mom's element was water, right? And my mom went and put her hand on top of her hand, and the fire went out like that. Freaked her out. I said, yeah, because you're a book-learned witch. You're not natural. So that was like a big thing with me, man. I never had any respect for these people. Oh, I read this book and that book. I don't care. And I'm the same way with Christianity. I really don't care what you've read, what you've studied. If you're preaching gospel truth and Holy Spirit truth, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for what you know. I'm looking for what's in here.
I like that.
You know? So, like I said, I'm very big against these people that have a head full of scripture, but a heart full of religion.
Do you think now, looking back on those times, especially with the spells and everything like that, I mean, God was really kind of protecting you?
Oh, of course.
And I mean,
100%. I should have been dead 1,000 times.
I'm praying that the power of God reversed some of them spells or all of them on whoever. You know, I don't know if they were.
What's done is done.
Yeah,
I already saw the results of all of them. So, but
that's deep. I've not heard any stories like that before, and I mean, I just
have to get ready for a roller coaster, man.
Right. You know, I'm just asking God for a little extra protection over me. But I mean, I'm not scared of none of this stuff. I don't participate or practice in it. I just think it's important to lay out how far and how deep you were into this. I mean, when they say the pits of hell, some people, you know, that everybody means that to some degree, but this sounds like very much into the pits of hell.
Yeah.
And now you're talking, let's just hear about gospel of Christ today. So
that went on for, I don't know, a while. And I wound up having a falling out with him. It was kind of over music because his wife wanted to say what kind of music we played. And I'm like, you don't even play an instrument. Shut up. What are you doing? Be quiet. Unless you're going to pick this guitar up or pick my microphone up and sing or play anything, just be quiet. You have no say-so in any of this. And it was pissing me off. So I was like, you know what? You guys are trailer trash yokels, man. I'm done. So I was drinking like a fish by then. I mean, literally my breakfast in the morning, I was working at a place called Mugs and Jugs cooking in Fort Myers, Florida. And my breakfast consisted of a 1.75 liter bottle of vodka, a beer, some St. John's wort, and some ginseng because I wanted to be healthy.
Breakfast of champs. I
think it got so bad. I was down to like I was under 130 pounds. My average weight is 150. So I got up in the middle of the night and I had to pee, and I rolled over my bed and I grabbed my jug and I took like 3 healthy gulps out of it. Because I was like days before. I don't know how long I could have waited for DT's hit back then. I never gave it a chance to find out, really. Not till later. So, but this one particular night, I went in and I was too drunk to stand up and pee, or I was going to pee all over the toilet. So I sat down and I had grabbed a beer out of the fridge and I set it on the sink. And I'm sitting there like, oh, good Lord. And I went to reach for it, but I reached for one that was already up there, and it was my roommate's, and I didn't know he had put cigarettes out in it. And I had blood coming out of both ends, dude.
Ugh.
I hurled blood. There's blood in the toilet. I hurled blood in the sink, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, oh, my God, what have you done to yourself, dude? So I called my mom up, who was a nurse. I used to be a CNA down in the Florida Keys. They're in Hurricane Andrew. I did a lot of work down there with that. But called her up. I said, Mom, this is what just happened. She said, well, congratulations. You just probably blew a hole in your stomach. I was like, suppose I should lay out the vodka, huh? So I did. I laid out the hard liquor for a while, but I was drinking like 5.9% alcohol beer. And it was getting pretty bad. I mean, I was smuggling in so I could stay drunk at work all night. Get a case after work, get up in the morning, drink till I was, didn't have any more, get some more, drink till I went to work. It was just nonstop. It was nonstop. By then I was totally just gone, full blown, early 20s, mid 20s alcoholic. And I was killing myself. I was dying.
Yeah, there's no fun in that. It can't be.
Funny thing is God in his infinite wisdom had decided to separate me and Matthew for like 5 years. So this is 5 years. What I'm about to tell you is 5 years after him and I were separated. So I got a hold of one of the girl that I was going out with when I was with the Outlaws. I was just talking to her. I was like, hey, what's up? She goes, hey, I ran into Matt the other day. I said, Matt, what? She goes, Matt. I'm like, no, where's he at? She goes, oh man, he's in Port St. Lucie. I said, what's he doing over there? He's all into God and all this noise. I said, what? I said, what do you mean he's all into God? And yeah, he goes to church. And I said, Oh, no, he's not. She goes, yeah, he is, actually. I said, what's his number?
Pull him out
So
of
I
there.
called him up. I said, I'm going to put an end to this nonsense right now.
Good luck.
And a couple weeks before that, I had gotten drunk and ticked off, and I had my own black mirror, and I put my foot through it. And then all of a sudden, my death metal CD collection had disappeared. I couldn't find it nowhere. My fire wand wound up disappearing. My air dagger wound up disappearing. My tarot cards wound up disappearing. And then all of a sudden, I find out where Matt is. This all happened within about 2 months. Okay. This is what's a trip. This used to be my favorite testimony until the LA thing happened. So I get a hold of Matthew, and I'm like, so what's all this I hear about you going to church? And he was in the middle of band practice. He's a bass player. Oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? He's going to church. We got a prophecy, a Pentecostal church. So what's going to happen? He's telling me this, that, and the other. I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing for Christmas? He's like, oh, it's my family. So I'm coming over there. He goes, yeah, dude, come on. I said, all right, I'm going to come over there for Christmas. I got the phone with him, and I'm like, I'm going to put an end to this God nonsense right here and right now. We're going to go back to running drugs again, dude.
What a pal.
Yeah. So I meet up with him, and he was like totally different. And I'm like, dude, we got to hit the store. I need some beer. And he's like, yeah, we can do that, man. I'll take you to get some beer. And I was like, all right. So hanging out with his family and partying and staying at Matt's house. And kind of was nice being back with my best friend again, even though he was whacked out in the head with God. And I was just like, stay out here, dude. You care? He goes, nah, man, that's fine, Jay. It's cool. Whatever you want to do, man. I said, all right. I said, I gotta make a run back to cross state to get my stuff. He goes, yeah, we can go like next weekend, man. We'll drive over there and get your stuff. And I was like, all right, cool. He goes, hey, I was going to ask you. He goes, I know you're kind of, and my hair was like down to my waist then, and Morbid Angel shirts and just, typical death metal look.
Sure.
He goes, I was going to ask you, he goes, you think you might want to go to church with me or something? One of these times. And I'm like, well, if I'm being perfectly honest, you were always the smartest out of the two of us. So if you're seeing so much into it, yeah, I'll go with you.
Really? That easy?
Yeah. Well, I love Matthew. He was my best friend, dude. I mean, he was like my best friend. And I'm like, if he's this adamant into it, something's got to be going on.
He had to be the one to ask you. Anybody else, you probably would have been like,
I would have told him to F off, dude, in a heartbeat.
Fair enough.
2 weeks later, I wind up getting saved. But still drinking. I mean, sure. I had more spots of sobriety then, I was talking with my wife the other week. I don't know when the longest I stayed sober was. I thought it was 3 years, but I was like, I don't think that's right, honey. She goes, I don't think so either. I don't think you stayed sober 3 years. I said, I don't think so either. I said, I don't see me staying sober 3 years back then. I mean, granted, I was going to AA though, and I was going to like church and all that, but I was going to religion. And AA is whatever, dude.
Can I ask you this though, right quick? I mean, that moment you were saved 2 weeks later, I mean, can you describe like what you were feeling? Like what was that? Was like a lot of the dark world kind of, did you lose interest in it?
Yeah, I lost total interest in that. That it was gone for a while. Yeah. Okay. And I got rid of my shirts. Me and Matt were going somewhere one night. I don't remember where. And I wanted him to listen to this Morbid Angel stuff. I had a mixtape of like Morbid Angel, Cannibal, all that. And we're listening to it. And he started listening. And he's like, dude, this is making me exhausted. I can't listen to it. And it was like literally affecting him. I was like, yeah. I said, well, you know what? I really don't need it anymore. And out the window it went. He goes, dude, you didn't have to throw it in the street. I said, don't need it, man. I don't care. So I chucked it out the window, and that was it. And
wow.
So I had like, I was trying to figure out what I'd gotten myself into, and Pentecostals, oh, wow. I saw a whole lot of speaking in tongues, and I'm reading what the word says about it. I'm like, you guys are wrong there. And I wound up getting baptized, and they're all waiting for me to fall out and just start flailing around and everything. And Pastor Eddie looked at me and he goes, so how do you feel? How do you feel? I said, well, I'm wet. How are you? I'm like, I'm not going to put on a show for you people. I'm sorry. Wrong kind of show for me to be putting on, you know? I like causing mosh pits. I don't like causing this. And I was questioning it. And I had been touched several times in that church. But a lot of what I got touched by was what I call endorphin preaching. Same buzz you get at a concert.
That's a good term.
And then people say it's Holy Spirit, but it's not. It's just your own endorphins are on overload. It's a trip, man. And then they were, do what?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And then they started preaching gospel. We were at Bible study one night, and they said Jesus never made any alcoholic beverage. I said, okay, well, that's a load of crap right there. I can tell you that. He said, and it was in their church doctrine that you do not drink any alcohol whatsoever. Any consumption of alcohol is a sin. And I think at the time I wasn't drinking at all, because that's when I really started making an effort to try to not drink, you know, because I knew I was an alcoholic. And God bless Matthew's heart. He was working with me every step of the way. I was always expecting him to flail me with the Bible, but he never did, man. Never, ever did. And so Matthew stood up and he goes, that's wrong. He goes, that is wrong. That is wrong. That's false doctrine right there in the middle of Bible study. He was showing them right there from word for word out of the scripture, proving their doctrine false. So I was like, well, if this doctrine's false, I don't know. I ain't with this. So one thing after another, me and Matthew and the bishop's grandson, Nathan, he was the drummer at church. So we wound up starting a band, a ministry band, and I was playing on the praise team. There had this Black Jackson Flying V in a Pentecostal church, dude. You should have seen it. It was a trip.
Okay.
His grandfather, God bless him, man. He was deaf as a post. He was down there. We're sitting there playing what we called heavenly metal. Psalm 33:3. Play skillfully with a loud noise. That was us.
Heavenly
He's down
metal.
there going. We're banging. My hair's going everywhere. It was funny. He didn't care. As long as we were playing for the Lord, he didn't care, dude. He was great. So I wound up meeting my wife. She had moved in with Matthew's roommate, her and her kids. And I had been drinking. I was over at Matthew's dad's house, and we just buried him a few months ago. That was why I went to Florida. One of the reasons I went to Florida. One of the things I did when I went to Florida was went to his celebration of life. But he was a great dad to me, one of my dads. So I'd go over there and drink beer with him after church, and then we'd go home. I come home one day and I had this big goofy Rottweiler named Duchess, and dumber than a box of rocks, sweet as pie though. Now I was going to bring her in to sleep on the couch with me that night, and there's this woman with 3 kids on the bed. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're going to go back outside. I'm like, Matthew, I need to throw the mattress down in the band room, because he slept in. We had the band room in the garage, and he slept in the front of that, and we had a mattress, and just in case, so I threw it down on the floor and I went to sleep. And me and her sort of wound up hitting it off, and I was kind of in and out with the drinking, and it started with her. And I was trying to figure out what this being a Christian was all about still. I didn't know any. Really, I know what rules are, and I know this. And it took me decades to get over rule. I am a born anarchist, man. There's a rule, I'm going to break it. You know, I've always had that rebellious spirit. Jehovah's Witnesses ground that into me good. And I hated it so much, I just became rebellious towards anything and everything. So you tell me I can't watch it, I'm going to do it. And you ain't going to catch me neither.
Oh, no.
There you are. Okay. So me and her wound up getting in place. back in Fort Myers. And we wound up getting married in 2000. And then we wound up having my daughter in 9 months later. And then I went and got fixed. So that was the end of the childhood line. And, but she went to Church of God of Prophecy with me once. She didn't like it because there were a bunch of huggers. My wife's like, nah, dude, don't be hugging me. She's not a people person. And so we wound up going to Faith Chapel years later and we moved back to Port St. Lucie, finally got our own house. And by this time, me and Matthew, my friend Ron, and her brother Sam had started a band called Bludgeon. Well, it was called Baker Act at first. And then we switched the name to Bludgeoned because Christ took all the beatings, so Matt's like, I think I got a name you're going to like, Jay. I'm like, what's that? He goes, we're going to call it Bludgeoned. I'm like, dude, yes.
Fits.
And so we wrote like 13 songs in like a year. We played out at bars a couple of times, and it was all, the only cover song we did was Paranoid from Sabbath. That was it.
Huh.
Yep, that was it. Everything else was all original and was all scriptural based and all that. But that's when the fame and fortune started gleaming in my eyes. And I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that. And I wound up ruining the band and moving to Gainesville because I said the best idea we could do is go play the circuit up there. And I'm the only one that moved. My wife and kids and I moved. Nobody else did. So that was the end of that. So back to Port St. Lucie I went when that failed miserably. And we wound up going to Grace, this Faith Chapel. That's what it was. What denomination? It's like non-denominational, but Methodist, I think.
Huh.
Something like that. But it was a great church. I mean, so that's when I got introduced to acting. It was in that church. It was a big church. We had like 200-300 people. Normal attendance is 175, I think. Maybe. Really great praise music, which is big for my wife because she likes to have really good praise and worship. And I was still struggling up and down with the drinking. And then I used to started doing all this stuff, really getting into, I was really trying my hardest to be what I thought a Christian was. And I'd boast about how much faith I had and blah, 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 blah. Guess who they had me play in the Passion of the Christ? Doubting Thomas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Then I found out how much faith I actually don't have.
Ironic.
Yeah. So, it went on and it went on, and I never stopped chasing that dream of music. So we wound up moving to Montana, and I hated the churches out here in Bridger. There were a handful of people, hymns. I'm like, ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So I don't remember how it happened, but we wound up going to this Baptist church, and I had started I got really, really drunk. That's how it happened. That's how it always happens. I got really, really drunk. I got in trouble. Got a DUI, I think it was. Yeah, my wife and I were fighting. I had left her plenty of times. So my mom had moved out here, and I wound up living with my mom for a while, and subsequently wound up getting it because my mom's a full-blown alkie too. And I don't think she knows who she is anymore. I don't have nothing to do with her. But I wound up getting a DUI out here. And there's one pastor we had who struggled with alcohol a lot, Pastor Dobbs out here. And I think he's clean now. He wound up having to leave. He was from a Lutheran church. But, man, you want to talk about a better guy, never a better guy to talk to when you're struggling with alcohol. I mean, yeah, he throws his denominational stuff in there, but, I mean, he's just solid, straight up. I love you like God loves you. Hey, Needed to wear deodorant, though. I know that. But other than that, the guy was just a beautiful person. And so my wife was suggesting an exorcism. And I'm like, what the frig, man?
That's how convinced
I'm like,
she's become.
exorcism? Like, I don't listen to heavy metal and death metal still. I was still listening to heavy metal and death metal, you know. And I was still walking with you. In all honesty, I was walking one foot in the world, one foot with God.
Yeah.
But you know, I wound up moving there and we want to go to church. So, well, let's go check this Baptist church out. So I went there and I was like, all right. So I started going to Bible study and I was writing ministry every day. I was writing ministry. And I did that for a long time. Long time. I don't know how long. I also thought I was sober for 3 years too. And I don't think I was. So I don't know how long I wrote the ministry for, but it was a while. And then my daughter wanted to get baptized. And I had already been baptized twice. Once a Jehovah's Witness at 11, once in the Church God of Prophecy. And I said, you know what? I said, I really don't add anything to that baptism I had last time, especially because of who I was. And this is still not knowing God yet, not knowing who Jesus is yet. This is like kind of thinking back then.
Sure.
And I'm like, I want to get baptized. I said, you want to get baptized with Daddy? She goes, yeah. So we got baptized together. And that was the last time I've been baptized. Third time's a charm, right?
Well, I've been baptized 3 times, and the third time was incredibly different than the previous 2.
Yeah.
So,
I've never had, anytime I got baptized, I never had this big thing of Holy Spirit rain down on me. I've never had any of that. I've never had all the religious side talk. I've never had any of that. I felt
different that third time. I mean, I felt fine the first 2 times, but this third time, I don't know. I feel like I just wasn't getting in the way of anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, the results since are what they are. It felt.
You see the results and the fruits of the happening.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't explain it to this day, but when I came up, it just felt like fresh start. I don't know, a profound belief in me that I knew I didn't place on myself.
Yeah,
it is a real thing, and I definitely felt it that third time. So I
remember I did for a little bit because I was really I was strong in the ministry then. Everything was eat, sleeping, and breathing it. And then one day at church, they had did something and it was just blatantly false. And I'm like, this is the biggest crock of and we left. Oh, it was over the body and the blood. And his wife spoke up, pastor's wife spoke up, said, well, if you're not a member of this church, you can't take the body and the blood. Take it that day. I would have thrown it right on the floor.
You can't take the body of the blood if you're not a member of the church.
Yeah.
You mean a paying member?
No, you didn't have to pay to be a member. Membership is like a big thing in churches, man. Yeah, I'm a member of my church now, and I'll tell you why later in a little bit. I'll get to that. Because I don't believe in denominations. I don't believe in church membership. I don't believe in any of it. I became a member for a reason for this one. So we left that church, and not long after that, quite a few other people did. And then not long after that, some other guy was there. And we got invited back, said, nah, man, I ain't dealing with that Baptist crap. No way. Well, it went from that to me starting to spiral again down. And I wound up leaving my wife a bunch of times. Oh, there it goes. Here starts my 13-year walk around the mountain.
Remember this part.
This guy that lives in town, he come up into my yard one day, introduced himself to me, and he liked doing survival stuff. He used to train NATO and all this other noise. And so we wound up hanging up, and he started teaching me philosophy and all this other crap. He's a Freemason, Knights Templar, all this noise. Well, he wound up becoming my best friend. older feller. I wound up living there plenty of times, wrote a lot of movie scripts in his basement. And I wound up becoming a Freemason for a little while. And then this, that, and the other thing happened. And I'm like, here I am finding more bullshit again. You know, people are not adding up to what they preach. I said, it's all false, all of it. I'm done. And so I got a phone call one night. My wife and I had lost our house, and we were living in this trailer a couple streets down from where we live now. And got a phone call from a buddy of mine, 3 a.m. He's like, dude, you want to be in a movie? I'm like, and I'm high. I was so stoned. I'm like, yeah, because I had gotten my medical card because of my back and my neck. I broke my neck in 4th grade and went to a chiropractor for a long time, and he totally destroyed my spine. So my spine and my neck, bam. So my wife agreed to let me get my medical marijuana card. And of course, being the good little act I am, balls to the wall. That's all I want to deal with. So I was constantly high. I'm like, call me in the morning. I'll call you in the morning. Yes, I want to be in a movie. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye. I hung up. So I called him the next day, and sure enough, I'm like, wow, I'm going to be in a movie. Being on set for like helping with stuff. And then he's like, hey, do you want a scene? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do a scene. And they wound up giving me the last scene of the whole movie. I sprained my ankle doing it, but they were just like, they did it in one take. They were blown away. I was like, wow, cool. There it went. Well, writing. So I wrote a book, and it was horrible. It was off the first story I ever wrote. I wrote a story for Easy Rider magazine, and it wound up being a novella. It was so long I couldn't publish it. And back then we didn't have cell phones or stuff to email magazine company. We didn't have that. I wrote it when I was like 23. And so I remember reading this book after I wrote it. I'm like, oh, the typos are horrible, man. I mean, this is really bad. So then I met this chick online. She's wound up being my co-writer. She's an actress. And so she goes, well, why don't you turn it into a movie script? I said, I don't know how to write movie scripts. She goes, well, I got one from Quentin Tarantino. I'll send it to you. I said, all right. So I started studying it, and one thing led to another. My wife and I were on the outs because I wasn't working. I had my shoulder rebuilt, and we were not doing well at all together. And so I wound up moving out, and then I moved to Tennessee because she lived in Virginia. So I was going to go to Tennessee with one of my friends for a while, and then from there go to Georgia and film. Never happened. Tennessee, I married whiskey.
Oh boy.
And I was drinking about a handle of whiskey a day. Big time. So something had happened with my wife's uncle. He died, and I'm like, I'm coming home. So I came back home. I sobered up, cut all my hair off. Did I send you that picture of me with the long hair sitting in the green truck? That's when I moved out right before I went to Tennessee. That's what I was like then. That's why I sent you those pictures so you have something to be relative on the timelines with.
Sure. So
that was around that time. And I sobered up. I quit drinking. And I think we moved in here. She had already had this place. So I stayed at Ronnie's for a little bit, and then I came here.
How hard was it to quit drinking? I mean,
I shook that time.
Yeah.
I quit drinking before I even left Tennessee. I shook for 5 days. I had DTs for 5 days that time. Dude, nothing. It's nothing, dude. I've had it. I've done it so many times. I've had DTs more times than I can count. But that was one of the worst ones. I mean, literally, you're laying on the couch, and every time your heart beats, you see the ceiling just move like this. Your whole body's moving every time your heart beats because your heart's about to explode. Yeah, it's bad, dude. I mean, I've had DTs more times than I can even shake a stick at.
Golly.
I mean, like literally, I would just drink myself. I drink to feel better, but it was only making me sicker.
Yeah.
You know, your addict's addict. So I wound up staying relatively straight for a while. And then I wound up hooking back up with my co-writer again. But I got bored. I wasn't doing no church or nothing. I had started, she got me a thing to let me know where my roots were. You send your DNA off and they tell you, well, come to find out I come from the Danish Vikings. Well, that didn't help matters any.
Oh boy.
Before that, I came from the barbarians, which did not help matters any. So I went head over into paganism, and I was already on my way back into paganism as it was. I was fascinated with Odin and fascinated with all that noise. And it just made me go headstrong into it. And Ronnie helped me right there. Well, you know, your ancestors, oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, well, the Danish Vikings were way, way more awesome than the Norwegian ones. We did all the raiding, and we're the ones who sacked France, not you. So, we did sack France. But, you know, I just got really deep into it. And my poor wife, dude, she put up with so much crap. And I got bored, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to write a novel. I've been wanting to do this my whole entire life. I'm going to write a novel. This is like a couple years back, all right? And so I got a hold of one of my old friend's sisters, and she's a published author. And I was like, I need some help. I want to write a novel. She goes, okay. She hooked me up with the programs to buy, and I bought the programs. And I had a studio upstairs, and I had already gotten into photography with a camera that could shoot videos. And so I was kind of dabbling into making my own little videos and stuff. I made like one series called Hell's Little Bastards. And where I was like, the devil was like, I was like the spoiled, rotten little brat of Satan that lived up in this ivory tower that kind of almost ran hell, but he was the boss. And the mother's name was Lilith. And I'm the only one that had a voice in it, except for Lilith. She had one. Everything else was demonic growls and stuff. I had to do a bunch of voiceovers and stuff. So I wound up doing that, but I wanted to write this novel. So I wound up getting, it's a cross between obsessed and possessed. Because the stuff I wrote in those novels, like I was writing them and I would break down one wall and get a little worse, and break down another wall and get a little worse. And it just got horrific. Like, literally should have had an X rating on it. That's how bad it was. For sex, drugs, and violence. I mean, violence, to give you a clue, she cut smilage into her mother's face with a die grinder. And I didn't say that's what she did. I described every bit of it. I wanted it as gut-wrenching. And I kept telling myself, because the story was about a girl who was raised abused in the worst of ways possible. And she wound up being a serial killer and vigilante going after sex traffickers. So I kept telling myself, this is to help people that have been abused to not be a victim anymore. While I'm writing this horrible, demonic stuff. So much so I was laying down a chapter a night I was writing. I was obsessed. That's all I would talk about. That's all I would think about all day when I was working. I'd go home, I'd write the chapter in my head all day, and I'd go home and I'd lay it down. So I wound up writing those 3 novels in 4 months.
Man.
And my wife didn't know who I was anymore. We were off on it again. And I was just excuse my French, being a shit husband, dude. I mean, just completely a crap. Me, egotistical piece of garbage.
You're
and then my books sold, and half the town bought my books. And oh well, I told you I was the bomb. You know, just, and that wasn't good enough. Now I wanted to put them in the film, so I got back with my co-writer again and said, "Hey, remember that movie script that we wrote years ago?" Yeah, I said, "Just published the first novel from it." She's like, "No way." So then I published the other 2, and she's like, "I still want to put things in the film." Well, now she's living in LA and working for Warner Brothers. And wife and I got into it about something. So back to Ronnie's I went. packed up everything, and then it took about 8 months till I finally got on the plane to go to LA. And I had met, now in that time, I had met producers, talked to people, other actors. I'm actually in one film that it's a documentary. It's not big. I'm in there like maybe 5 seconds. I got paid $280 to stand around and smoke pot all day and be in front of the camera for 5 minutes. SAG wages. Gotta love SAG wages. And it's a documentary about Stagecoach. That was actually filmed right here, right where I live.
It's a film about what?
Stagecoach. Yeah, it's a Western.
Okay.
I think it's called The Stagecoach. It's on YouTube somewhere. I'll send you the link if I ever find it. I'm in there, like literally I holler at the driver to slow down, and that's it. That's my whole role.
Please
do.
Like,
wow, finally one of my pieces finally made it to film.
It's a high paying gig. You got to get in somehow.
Yeah. So, but so everybody here, okay, now this is how God works. This is so funny. My best friend here is like, I love him to death, man. He's like, bro, I understand why you want to go, but I'm going to tell you, as your best friend, you're probably not making a very good decision. I'm like, I got to do it, dude. I'm like, I feel it. I got to do it. And people were asking me, like, why is he doing this? They're like, because it's going to kill him if he don't. He'll drink himself to death. I know he will. He'll drink himself to death. And so I left my wife, my kids, everybody, everything I've known, and moved out to LA and started writing. I worked on the Boulevard. And
what year was that? You remember?
23?
23?
I think.
Okay, close enough.
I think it was 23. And
you were just going for it.
Yeah. So it was making me mad because she wanted to do her project, which I was fine with. And it was a comedy that we were both going to be in. And so I invented my own character. And I was just writing some hellacious crap. Just raunch is all it was. It was raw. It was purity filth, man. Pure filth. Cocaine driven. I wasn't doing coke, but my character did. So it was like, the character was like cocaine, alcoholic, car thief, porn star, freaking deathly afraid of midgets. Yeah. Well, he was kind of a chaotic blend of Captain Jack Sparrow and a crazy version of Tom Hardy. So there's like always been a lot of Johnny Depp influence in everything I did, except for music. I don't like his music. But so I mean, I even did Jack Sparrow on the Boulevard a couple of times. You know, customers would come up and I'd be wearing eyeliner and my hair's all black on my face. They're like, "Oh my God, you look like Johnny Depp." And I'm like, "That was funny. I've never heard that one before, Lovey." And they're like, "Ah!" And I'm like, "Really? I don't look like him. I don't know why you people think I look like him. I do not look like him. It's just the eyeliner. I'm telling you." But they're tourists, so they don't know anything.
Yeah, the Sparrow thing, and with the voice, they probably don't know. They're probably all.
Well, when I got dressed up, I mean, I pulled a couple of people on the Boulevard, you know, but see, there you go again, idolizing something. I idolized him. I idolized Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's by far my favorite actor ever.
He's up there. He's great. He's great in Peaky Blinders. You've had to watch that show.
How many times have I watched all seasons? Probably 6 or 7.
Yeah, he's pretty remarkable.
I studied him. I studied the movie Bronson. I watched it about 30 times to get ready for a role that I had in one of my brother-in-law's plays. He was doing these little play towns, and I played a British guy. So I studied it I watched it like 30 times practicing the accent. And then I wound up, and out in LA, I wound up having a coach in London. And she She's like, Alex, I really don't have to help you at all. And I'm like, yeah, you do, because I got to know the difference between Cockney, and I got to know the difference between that and the other thing. And I don't even do the accent anymore. I quit. I just very rarely will I bust out with it. I'm done with it.
Appreciate it.
I just don't want to do it.
You got a Tom Hardy impersonation?
It would take me a minute to figure it out. It's been so long. I used to do Alfie Solomon's a lot.
Oh man, okay. We kind of got off track there.
I would have to turn the air blue. So no, I'm not.
Fair enough.
But it's just something I did for years, and a lot of people called me that. I even wrote a pirate script film where I invented my pen name, J. Alexander Payne. He was a captain of a ship, a pirate captain of a ship, Captain J. Alexander Payne. And that's where I got my pen name from. So all my books are authored by J. Alexander Payne. So, but anyways, no, I was idolizing them. But anyways, I got out there and, I went to this red carpet party, and I dressed like Johnny Depp normally dresses in regular life. And we have this certain way that we dress for what we called Voodoo Dolly Productions. It's our company that we're making. And people were just feeding my ego, man. Satan kept sending all these people to feed my ego. Like, oh man, we got Johnny back in Hollywood finally. And I'm like, okay. And I'm looking around at all these people in this red carpet party. And I'm like, what a bunch of phony, fake. This is vile. And they were just drinking and having a good time. There wasn't like debaucherous sex going on or sacrifices to Satan or anything going on, but it was just like, these are not my kind of people.
Well, that comes after the red carpet.
Yeah, well, I was like, we were standing, she said, well, you got to get your picture taken on the red carpet. And the line was like forever. And then people were paying people so they could go in front. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't care. I said, I'm going to tell you right now. I said, we make our movies and all that stuff. You don't expect me to go to one of these. I will go to sign, and that's it. I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with this. This isn't me, man.
So you had to know that, expect that. Like that's everything you kind of wanted, wasn't it?
Well, you don't
want to participate in it?
I don't know. It was just like,
you got what you wished for, in a sense. You're at the red carpet. Now you're like,
yeah. And I saw it, and I'm just like,
it's the same response you had at some of these churches. Like, this is phony and fake. I'm out of here.
Yeah. It was just like,
now.
that was about it. It was just like, this isn't real. It's not. I'm like, because I'm looking, what is on my hat? Oh, I'm looking on the boulevard, and I see all these premieres going on, this talentless hacks. These movies I said, all they do is restamp old stuff. Nobody is writing anything original anymore. It's really these actresses and actors, I've never even heard of them. Had to AI. I said, this is garbage. I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with this, really. But I kept writing, and it was ticking me off. It was like the year and a half I was out there, how much we wrote?
Oh, probably a lot.
No, I went out there for Christmas. Before I moved out there, I wrote 5 episodes in a week. 5. 50 pages an episode. I wrote 5 episodes in 1 week. An episode and a half after a year and a half. Because I couldn't get her to do anything. And then she took all my stuff and rewrote it. And then we met this. We were supposed to go to this. You know who the black guy was? Tony. Can't remember his last name. He played Candyman. He just died.
Yeah, I can't think of his last name. It's on the tip of my brain, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, his last movie, we were going to go to the premiere for that. It was his last movie, and we were going to the red carpet event. We're supposed to be VIPs. Oh, here we go again with the lies. Because it's like we were supposed to go to all these events, and one reason after another, no, we're not going. No, we're not going. And I was just like, I was done. After 6 months of being there, the honeymoon was over. And it's like I'm paying $400 a week to sleep on a couch. I work in a crap hole, which it was a nice store, but Hollywood Boulevard is nasty, dude. It is filthy nasty. And it's just like I was drinking. I'd go for walks in the morning. First stop, liquor store. buy enough to make it to work, drink while I was at work, drink after work.
Same old problems.
Smoking 24/7 from the time I got up to the time I went to bed. And it was just finally, so we're standing in line for this premiere, and Kane Hodder's standing like 10 feet in front of me. The guy who's played Jason Voorhees.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, he's standing like 10 feet in front of me, man. And I'm like, dude, I kind of want to take a picture, but I don't. And she's looking at her phone. She goes, oh, well, I just found out we only have tickets to get in to see the movie. If we're not going to be in the red carpet, I don't want to go. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just go home and get high. Forget it. Whatever. Let's go. It was every time we turn around with this. I'm like, wow, we're actually going to go and do some work this time. Because that's the only reason I wanted to go to these red carpet events and premieres, was to meet people, to work, to get connections. All the reason I wanted to go. So that night, she says, oh, I just got a message from him. He says we're going to meet for coffee. So me and you will meet him for coffee for a meeting in like 2 weeks. Okay. Sure. She goes, what, aren't you excited? I said, I'm done being excited out here. How many times is the carpet? Well, not everything works on your timeline. This is the way it is out here. I'm like
nothing has.
I'm about to come across this room and rip your hair right out of your scalp, girl, and throw you over the balcony. So I'm like, whatever. I'll believe everything when I see it, man. And then I want signed contracts. That's when I'm going to believe everything. I've heard enough. So come time to go see this guy, and she gets all dressed up. I was like, what are you all dressed up for? Because she hadn't brought it up again. She was like, in a couple of days. Oh, I don't know. I got to get a hold of the guy. She gets all dressed up. She goes, oh, I got a hot date. I said, oh, yeah. I said, who are you going? Oh, just somebody. And I'm like, oh, all right. Dressed like Voodoo Dolly. She's got all her Voodoo Dolly gear on. She ain't going on a date. She's going on a business meeting. She thinks I'm stupid, but I saw right through that. So she left. She comes back a little while later, talking to her friend on the phone of this message that producer just happened to send her. Okay. Oh, and this, that, and the other, and he's going to do this, and he's going to do that. And so she starts telling me about it. I said, oh, and he messaged you all this. Yeah. I'm like, mm-hmm. She goes, and don't worry, I told him about your project for doing your books too. And I'm like, I'm supposed to pitch that, not you. And it was about, I'm like, well, I got to go. I got to get ready for work. She goes, you don't have to be to work for a few hours. I said, yeah, I got some things I got to do first. I plowed before work. And I mean, stayed plowed for days, like hard. Finally went home one night and I let them have it with her and that transvestite roommate of hers. Freaking let them have it with both barrels. And it was like, this is when it happened. This is right when the lie happened, is when God said, okay, dude, now it's time for you to see. And then everything was just that thin veil. I don't know if you read some of my writings that I've had posted before, that thin veil of glam that covers over Hollywood. When you rip it away, all you see is the evil. That thin veil got ripped open, and God's like, this is what you've been chasing. And I'm like, so I wanted being homeless for 2 days. She threw me out, was going to call the cops on me. I didn't threaten anybody. Called her a narcissist. I know that.
That's the worst thing you can call somebody in LA.
I told her roommate that he made about the ugliest looking bitch I've ever seen in my life with his buck old teeth. Black dude. And he thought he was going to size me. I said, you can go downstairs. We can step behind this apartment, dude. I said, I got 2 seconds to waste on tearing you a new one. I said, that's fine. It's all it's going to take me, bro. You want to step. Get out, get out, get out. I'm leaving. So I lost everything I had. All my computers, my clothes, everything. Gone. History. Goodbye. Remember my magical implements that came up missing?
Yeah.
God said, well, it's time to clean your house again. Let me give you a hand. So I walked around the streets of LA for 2 days, called my best friend up here, Told him what happened. He had me a bus ticket. He goes, bro, soonest what I can get is 2 days. So meanwhile, my wife's going through hell. She had a surgery on her sinuses, went awry. They put a hole in her skull and blinded her, cut a muscle coming out to where her eye just slants. So now she can't see and her eye slants in this eye.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I wanted to come home when I found out about it, but I was about to film. Well, I could go back. Yeah, but we're almost there. We're almost there. Carrot just constantly dangling. God showed me that carrot was just rot. So I stayed on the streets for 2 days and finally got on a bus. And even on the bus ride home, dude, like, okay, the 2 nights I was on the street over there, he led me all the right people. Nicest people, the most helpful people. I didn't have to deal with no garbage, no garbage whatsoever. No hairy moments. Even the security guards, I was crashing out. I was sleeping on the concrete out front, and they're like, hey man, you got a bum. He goes, nah, man, stupid roommate kicked him out. You know how women are, man. He's all right. He belongs here. He's leaving. He's going back. He just needs a safe place to kind of be. So just like chill with him. He's like, oh, all right, cool. So, God had my back on all that. And on the way home, I got a message that we had another blizzard in Montana, and I was going to hit a bus stop at Butte, but my ride from Butte to Billings got canceled. And I'm like, dang. My wife's like, I'll get you a hotel. No, I don't want you to get me a hotel. I will stay the night at the bus station. It's no big deal. Well, there's no heat in that one. It was 20 degrees outside, man, and blowing snow. It was bad, dude. And so I had already prepared myself mentally to stay in that bus station all night, and I'm sweating out alcohol. Had a drink since right before I left. I'm like starting with the shakes, and I'm like, oh man, this is not good. Get there, and the bus driver goes, hey, he goes, Jason, right? I said, yeah. He goes, aren't you going to Billings? I said, yeah. He goes, well, there's your bus right there. And I'm like, no way. He goes, go talk to him. I said, yes, sir. So I ran over there. I said, man, they already canceled my ticket. But here's the ticket I bought. I said, they said the bus was canceled. He goes, man, it's too cold for you to be out here. Get on here, man. I got you. Let's get you home.
Wow.
So my best friend met me there. So then I came back home and I stayed on his couch. And for 2 weeks, I stayed drunk. But now I'm back home a failure. And my ego is stomped all over. And
yeah, but you went home for the wife too, though.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I wasn't coming back home to get back with my wife.
Well, I mean, the surgery and everything else.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I was back with my family, and, but not with my family.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I was drinking getting pints at the bar again, freaking just hammering it. And finally I had to move out of his house. So I was in my oldest son's house for like a week. And I was talking to my wife and she goes, Jason, what do you want to do? And I was just at the point of breaking. I said, I just want to come home. I said, I messed up bad, like real bad. She goes, you can't be drinking and smoking. I said, I'm done with drinking. She said, did you quit? I said, no, but I'm like, you know me when I get to this point. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm just done. She goes, when's your last drink? I said, I'm done today. And that was it. So I didn't drink. That's when I started not drinking. And so I said, just don't take my weed away. And I talked to her and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, all right. She goes, you know what? Fine. As long as I don't have to smell it. I said, I just vape it anyway, so it'll be all right. So I started with the DTs, and I went and got some gummies from some friends of mine that make them. And I ate them gummies, kind of help with the DTs, soften the blow a little bit. Didn't really. She says, you're going to be done with the DTs by Saturday morning? I said, yeah. She was Saturday morning, pick you up. So by Friday night, I'm like, you know what? She was cool enough to say it was all right for me to have weed. You know what? It's not even getting me high anymore. I'm just going to quit that too. So that was it. I was done with weed and booze. And so then I moved home, and then about a week into it, we had to talk about it being a spiritual leader. I'm like, well, I'm pagan. I don't know what the hell you want me to do with this. You know,
Toss it out with the alcohol and the weed.
and I'm like, I gave you the alcohol and weed. What else you want, And so I'm like, she's like, I need some kind of a spiritual leader. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Let's watch Jesus Christ Superstar. Something like that. She goes, well, you've watched The Chosen before, right? I'm like, yeah, I was drunk when I watched it, though. I said, I do remember that being a good show. I said, we can watch that. But now I'm sober.
It's a great show.
Still kind of wonky in the head, but, I'm sober. All the alcohol totally out of my system.
Good.
It got to be about the second episode, and all of a sudden the pagan rings started coming off one by one, and she didn't know what I was doing. She was sitting there on the couch next to me. She didn't see it. And I got up and I went to the bathroom, and I just started getting convicted about it.
Wow.
I just started getting convicted like, I don't need to be wearing this, man. And I put them in the drawer, and I got back, and something wasn't feeling right. I'm like, I got the milk from my neck, and another, like some goat's head with runes all around it. So I took those off and went in there and went on and went on. And I said, you didn't notice I took my jewelry off? She goes, no, I didn't. When did you do that? I said, on the second episode. I said, I don't know, it just ain't feeling right. She goes, all right. And then it got to that point where Jesus was preaching in the street. And he's like, what shepherd would not leave his flock behind to go find that one that's lost and return home joyful because he found his lost sheep? The heavens rejoice more for the one that repents, the 99 who need no repentance. And it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Come on.
That's when it got personal. That's when I knew what he had done. That's when everything made sense. That's when I knew he had his hand on me, because there was a lady out there. Check this out, man. Out in LA, there was this lady that went to church on there. Only Christian I met out there that I knew on a personal basis that I liked, because the rest of them were all just jackwads, man. Like literally rude, obnoxious jackwads. And she's like, how you been, man? I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good, And she, always polite, always nice, basically. And I'm like, I wish I could get a hold of that woman to let her know what happened. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, I don't think I need to. So that's one of those people that God sent to check on me, to let me know that he's still thinking about me. I'm still on his radar, And I was like, wow, man, it totally blew me away. So
can I say something?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to say, I want you to pick up back from her second episode of The Chosen. What's so ironic, but not ironic for me, is you go to Hollywood, you write these screenplays, these novels, you're about to film, you're on the red carpet, you're meeting all these actors, da-da-da-da-da. It doesn't work out. You go back home, you put on a television show that's filmed and produced with actors and scripts based off Christ, and a movie that you're not in, but kind of, in a sense of everything, has this effect on you to where it hit like a ton of bricks. Yeah. Nothing you were seeking out in Hollywood did that. You come back home, you're trying to do this and getting rid of that. Okay, leader of that, spiritual leader, all right. Put on The Chosen, second episode. The irony is not lost on me there. It took a movie. It took a movie
God always works with me that way, because I can't sit there and study like most people study. It gets jumbled together after about 2 paragraphs. I have to the way he works with me just works fine. I've learned more in the last year and a half than I have in the last 20 years.
We got some similarities in that regard there too.
Yeah. So it's the same spirit that works with everybody, but he works for you individually. So it's like, what ain't going to work for Jason is going to work for this guy, but what ain't working for this guy is going to work perfectly for Jason. Over here's what we're going to do this.
Because he made you. He made me.
And so a couple of days later, I started writing every day again. And I told Lana, I said, I want to go back to church. I said, we got to find a church. She goes, okay. She goes, well, I like Faith Chapel or no, Grace over in Billings. I said, I want to go to Church of the Rockies because I went to one of their services when they were having church in the high school over here. They didn't have a church building yet. And my wife was going and I wasn't going. And she said, he's going to test you. They're like, it's okay. So I walked in there with long hair, Black Label Society cut on, freaking just beautiful church service, man. Wonderful people. They preached the truth. I don't know why I didn't go back. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. But I said, I want to go. She said, well, they're in Red Lodge now. I said, I don't care. I said, I'll go to church in Red Lodge. That's it. So I went and they got a new pastor in, Pastor Justin, who is a theologian. And come to find out the church is Baptist. And I'm like, oh, why did they have to tell me that? Because I wouldn't even guessed it until they told me. Except for their music. You know, I definitely would guess it by that. But he's preaching complete, straight up truth and telling you what the Bible, what the context of things are.
Yeah.
And so I started going there and I visited with him, told him my testimony. He's like, wow, dude, that is just, God is amazing. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole reason I love telling my testimony. It's not how screwed up I could get in my life. It's how powerful God is. And once he wants you, once he grabs a hold of you, he's not going to let go easily. I threw him to the curbside and he said, yeah, you think you did. I ain't done with you yet, Scooter. When you're chosen, you're chosen, you're chosen. That's it. And those who have been chosen that fall away, like really fall away, and like the old ones that listened to the Judaizers and went back to the law. I don't know why they would, but they did. Mm. They have a chance to repent, but will they? I don't know. I don't know. It's not for me to say.
No.
I have my own handfuls filled with my own walk right now.
Yep.
And so, and I talked with Justin Morwell. I said, dude, I got to tell you, I don't do denominations. He goes, I understand that. I said, I hate religion. And I explained to him why. And he goes, it's not about religion, Jason. He goes, it's not really. It's about that relationship with Christ. He says, believe me, if the Baptists started doing like a lot of other denominations do and accepting this and accepting that and preaching false, he goes, we would no longer be a Baptist church. We would just be Church of the Rockies. I said, that's good enough for me. I said, that's good enough for me right there. There's some things he does that's up, but I'm not going to find a perfect church, but I'm used in that church. I'm useful in that church. They want me to sing in that church and all that. And I'm like, I still got an ego I'm fighting with, man. You know, I'm not comfortable going down that road yet. And he's like, totally understand. No problem.
I get that.
You know,
less is more approach.
I'll run sound for him. But when it comes down to like anything that might, I'm getting better about it, I guess. I'm not going to say I'm better about my ego, but I'm getting more comfortable with it to where why I'm doing it.
You gotta let God utilize the talents he's given you.
Yeah, it's taken time. It's taken time, you know. But I was writing. I was like, well, thank God he didn't take my gift of writing away. So I will write ministry from now on. And then I come to find out that I was writing on religion, and I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, you're not even believing some of this anymore. You just stop, Jason. Put on the brake. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. You need to chill for a little bit and right here and there because you're stabbing at darkness now. Mm-hmm. You know, God's like, dude, I love your enthusiasm. What?
Rain it in a bit.
Brakes, bro. And I'm like, okay. So I write on the 25th every month. I try to. But here's the thing. I forgot the last 2 months. It was even the 25th. And I told my wife, said, I'm glad. I said, that's one less little bit of a hold that alcohol has on me that I'm not even remembering it's a date anymore. I'm like, I want it that far. And here's the thing. I am so big on deliverance because I have not had one craving, not one thought, not one ounce. It has been like by the roots stripped out of me. I could never do that. No. Religion never could do that.
No.
My wife getting mad at me could never do that. And that's a powerful force. Don't let it fool you. That is that the Italian woman can bring a 7-foot tall man down to his knees just with her mouth. Sure. I love her to death, and I do not try to piss her off. Because hell hath no fury. But and God bless her, dude. Good Lord have mercy. Put up with so much of this me chasing the limelight crap. I mean, the crap I have put her through is amazing that she would have anything to do with me at all. You know, God is amazing, dude. It's just like God has put people in my life for a reason. It's like he touched my best friend's heart to buy me that bus ticket. My best friend's like, oh man, my phone's about to die. I got 15% left. So
about 2 hours.
Yeah.
It'll work out. I betcha. I'm at 30.
So but yeah, so I became a member of that church, and I'm involved with some in-church ministry. We get to actually make the bread for the bread and the body. We do that at the end of every month. So my wife and I have made the bread a couple of times, and I'm going to have her make it when it's not that, just for me to snack on because it's really good. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was amazing. Like make the traditional bread. Oh my God. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like to me, it's like an honor to do it. I don't know, but it was a trip.
Have these last 18 months been some of your happiest months?
Yes.
You're not so much who you were back then. Oh,
I'm telling you, I have a lot of pictures from back then, and I'm like, I'm looking at this guy and I see his face. I know who he is, but I don't know him.
They didn't.
I don't know him.
They don't even really look like it, to be quite honest with you. I mean, a haircut will make a bit of difference, but you could just see in your face just the longing for something that just was unattainable, and you had to give it all up to receive it. I mean,
there's a picture I was hoping to find. I wanted to send you. It was one of my favorite pictures when I was on set. It was after a fight scene. I got the crap beat out of me, and I'm sitting with my hair matted, and it's all long, and I got blood running, and it just looks. And my eyes are bulged because I can tell you right there. And I was on a handle of whiskey that day myself. I had gone through almost 3/4 of a handle that day before that scene, and you could just see the look on my face, like I've been rode hard and put away wet. And the whoever took the picture took a really good picture because it just says the pictures. I'm like, wow. It was just, I wish I don't know where it is. Somewhere I might have it in storage somewhere on the phone. If I find it, I'll send it to you. But
yeah, I want to see it.
I don't know. But I'm talking with a sister at church. She wants to start writing plays. She wants to start doing like a play. Then we have a very small congregation, maybe like 50 people. It's not very big, but she wants to start doing thought about writing plays, like 5-minute skits. I said, I'm not going to get back into writing movie scripts and that. I said, but I'll write you some scripts. I said, yeah, I know how to do that. That's easy. I can write something out in about 10 minutes if you want. I said, I'll think of an idea and then have it written out and I'll send it to you. I said, but did you talk to the pastor yet? She said, no, I haven't. I said, well, let's talk to him first. You get that going, and then come talk to me, because I'm not going to, get all balls to the wall and be like, hey. But hopefully next year, I'm going to Africa with them. We're going to go minister in South Africa, hopefully.
Wow. That'd be awesome. Take some pics.
Yeah. We're going to go to Kingston. They've already been once. We were supposed to go this last year, but it didn't work out too well. So we're hopefully going next year. And until then, I just try to encourage people, you know, I guess whoever watches this, I guess the biggest thing that I would have to say is like, okay, so you're in a slump, big deal. Who hasn't been there? Maybe you're doing something you shouldn't be or whatever. The thing is you're not going to outsend God's grace. And if you're worried about it, don't worry. You haven't committed the unforgivable sin of blaspheming the Holy Spirit. If you're concerned that you have done that, then you haven't. That's pretty much a golden rule of that. The pastor taught me that.
That's a good point.
You know? And you haven't done too much that can't be forgiven. You know, just allow him to work. Allow the Holy Spirit to move on you the way it wants to, because you can stop the Holy Spirit like that. It's very easy. As big a deal as the Holy Spirit is, you can stop his work like that. It's very easy to do. Don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Open yourself up as much as you can to it. And I still struggle with it. There's parts of me that pop up. Usually when I start getting irritated and people that's when the old me like tries to creep in. I got 5% left, dude. So, but anybody who sees this, man, it's possible.
It is.
You're not too far gone. That's like the biggest message I think I could tell anybody. And if you don't feel like you're far gone and you're going strong, keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Brother,
don't worry about all the bollocks that's going on.
Dude, I appreciate this so much. I know there's so much more to do. We might revisit this down the road. I do seconds and thirds with people they come back on. God can do so much more in the next 3 months, 6 months. So we might do this again, because I know there's more to it. But wow, I just want to thank you before the phone dies. I forgot to pray in. That's on me. But would you please just pray us out, and any last thing you want to say to anybody?
Man. Lord Heavenly Father, we come before you humbly, and we thank you so much for this time, and ask, Lord, that this ministry that he has, that the testimonies that everybody gives will just reach those who need to hear it, Lord. I know it's for somebody. I just don't know who. That's your business, not mine. I just pray that it touches their hearts, and you send your Holy Spirit to comfort them in their times of being down and discouraged, and let them know that you still love them, Lord. Pray for this ministry to keep being blessed and to keep reaching people, and for our families and for this country, Lord, that people will just turn to you and let there be a massive, massive movement of your Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Brother, I appreciate it so much. We'll have to get together for
Well, I got to
Halloween.
tell you, it was a very fantastic interview. I've had a lot of horrible, horrible interviews in my time, but this one was fantastic.
It wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. Somewhere in the middle. That's just fine. Thank you.
That's for them to say, not for me.
We're doing double trumps. Double trumps. Hey, my wife said that we got to get together for Halloween, and I'll go as Tommy from Peaky Blinders, and you do Alfie. I do a really pretty good Tommy, and Arthur for that matter. But
do you have TikTok?
Huh?
You have TikTok?
I do, but I don't ever use it.
I have a TikTok on there. It's called Ode to Peaky Blinders. I did all 4 of them.
Look, there's our coaster, Garrison Tavern.
The Garrison. Oh, there it went.
Oh my gosh!
There went my phone, dude.
All right, I'll see you, Jason Fusco. Everybody on the spot. He's off the spot. Thank you, brother. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Sorry, I forgot to pray us in. Please forgive me with that. We just started talking a little bit too much and got into it, but I hope this was received well for somebody. I know it got pretty dark at times, talking about some stuff we don't really talk about as often, but hey, with God's protection and that in the blood of the Lamb, no weapon form can prosper against this. So just wanted to get everything out there that he was into, and all these different dark roads he traveled down, because they were real. And that shows you that nobody can be too far gone for God's grace to save them from themselves. So I just thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm sure we could have got into a whole lot more, but thank you all for spending your Sunday evening with us. GBR family and everybody else that tuned in. We'll see you next time. We got a Monday night Discovery Fellowship Zoom meeting. My brother DJ Horns sharing for us. It'll be a second time, but he did such a great job the first time. We look forward to having him. His topic is going to be what's your standard, and what's that mean in terms of sobriety, faith, everything in between. So we look forward to that on Zoom, 6 p.m. Central. You'll see the post for it. Then next Sunday, the 12th, our brother Stephen Perez is going back on the spot for a second time. The guy's been doing so much with music and just his personal work and everything. And we're going to hear what all God's had him up to since he was on the spot back in, I think, October of 24. So look forward to that. And then coming up the 19th will be Raymond Dawson. Just kind of met this guy not too long ago, but he's on fire for the Lord and is willing to give his testimony. In the 26th, Ben and Jessica Owen from We Fight Monsters. The guy's doing incredible work in his hometown of Memphis, turning old trap houses into sober living homes and rehabs and stuff like that, and just cleaning up every street. His whole old neighborhood, his old stomping grounds, and God's using him in mighty ways. So just thanks everybody so much for tuning in. God's doing so much in everybody's lives, man, and we just love you and support you. Thank you for making GBR what it is, letting God lead you one step at a time. We'll see you next time, everybody. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, God-based.